Episode 4, Karim. We're back at it. Again, this idea is to talk a little bit more about what people don't know about NotCo, so the behind the scenes. And this episode is a little bit about the founding story. How did we met? How did we make the very first decisions, the decisions that we're proud of making at the very beginning, the decisions that maybe not so much. So anyway, I think everybody has heard a little bit about my side of the story and how I was convinced that there was a space in which we could apply AI and revolutionize a whole system. But maybe from your side, the story hasn't been told so much. So tell us a little bit about when I got to your office and told you about this idea of utilizing AI to revolutionize the food industry. Probably speaking about a lot of elements that I didn't know. I don't know, take us to that moment and tell me what inspired you to say, you know what, fucking let's go, you know?
Yeah, I remember very well that moment. I was working in the university, and by the time I was working in something very exciting, by the way, which is astronomy. And in Chile, our country is the best in the world to observe the universe, and that's cool. I mean, we're the best in something. It's fucking cool, yeah. And so our sky is the cleanest, and it's the cleanest sky in the world. And so every single
let's
telescope,
say in the north of Chile, because Santiago is a good exception.
Well, yeah, that's true. So most of the companies in the entire world, they install their best telescopes in our country, and they will observe the world. And I was feeling that was our responsibility to develop the technology that would analyze that data. I mean, it'll be really embarrassing if we had to ship the data services that we would get in our country to other countries for other people to analyze. We said, this cannot be possible. So we started building data science teams in Chile to work in that, and I was part of those teams. And working with analyzing the skies is fascinating. It's kind of a real thing, because you need to deal with situations like, that day was cloudy, so the data has a lot of errors. The telescope was broken, so we couldn't observe in this moment. They had to observe in a different moment. So there was some sort of a lot of reality in the scenarios we were developing technology for. But you could never touch what you were dealing with, right? And that was a thing. You still are working with things that are millions of years away. And whatever you observed, it seems to be truth, because the astronomers are amazing scientists that they bring a bunch of facts, but still it's too far, right?
Yeah.
When you came to talk to me, and I was thinking, shit, I never thought about food. Is it something that we could somehow digitalize? Is it something that from where we could get any data source on it? I never thought about it. And at the same time, it was the most real thing ever. It's what we put inside our body every single day. And on top of that is directing our health, how we feel. So it was so impactful. And at the same time, I remember you told me about the current state of the food industry, and I was super surprised. So everything resonated with me, every single thing you said, wow, the impact of any technology that could improve the way we create food would be immediate, and we will perceive it, our lives would be better, our planet would be better. So yeah, let's fucking do it. I mean, it was impossible to say no to that.
Yeah.
And actually, I remember I told you, I felt lucky you came talk to me, because I was not the only professor there, and we were literally 4 offices, and you knocked my door. You could have knocked another door. Yeah. Maybe others would have said no. Yeah. Maybe I was the right person to that we resonate, that we synchronize with the. But
we will never know. I mean, the chances are really low, but we will never know. But I mean, it's for a mortal human being, it's really interesting to hear that you jump from maybe a machine learning and AI approach for astronomy into the food system, and you chose to believe on certain things, no? Because at the end of the day, we envisioned that the system worked in a way, and 8 years after, that way is very different. No, where we landed, I think it's very different to what we imagined. Maybe the fundamental principles are there, but did you? How much do you assign of the success of NotCo being disrupted by outsiders of the industry? I mean, you and I weren't in the CPG industry, right? And how do you think, kind of like the fundamental team, the founding team, how did we, or it is a factor that we were outsiders that we could actually disrupt it or not?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I remember that I was in a conversation here in San Francisco with one person from the food ecosystem here, and he told me, I was telling him that our approach was to reformulate the products entirely. Like, instead of going and trying to replace the egg or just the milk ingredient in a formulation, we would just run our technology to reformulate the entire product again. And that was something like, I remember I thought at the beginning, like, the technology should reformulate, because if I go and replace only the animal ingredient, for example, I am tying too much the hands of the AI, and let the AI to speak and to figure it out from data.
Yeah.
And that was an approach totally from an outsider. That is kind of like a machine learning philosophy. Like, the data should train the algorithm should do it without us doing any bias or adding so much structure into the problem. So he was looking at me and he told me, do you understand that you guys are, what you are saying this as as obvious thing, but no one else in the food industry thought about this before. Like, everyone would go and try to replace the bothering ingredient without thinking that they could redo the entire thing, because it seems to be much more work. But coming from the computer science field, I understand that that was probably the only way to do it. But I never thought of that. So being an outsider is a great thing. I believe that always probably we've seen that outsiders are disrupting industries because they are not bringing any bias into the solutions. It's the only way to innovate, right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean, it's been a long journey since we started, and I think we went in a way that of naturally occurring events. No, we started off with this idea of creating a B2B company and introducing a new technology to disrupt the CPG industry. And the first deal that we made was actually a B2B one. And I told a little bit of the story about this, but it failed miserably. And that's where we figured out we needed to start our own way of doing things with our own brand, communicating to people that we knew that were expecting a new message, maybe not a new product, but maybe a new message, an encouraging message. We saw a consumer changing dramatically, right? When we were kids, we went to dinner with our parents, and they would determine what we eat, and we would never relate what we were eating on the table with global warming or climate change or use of resources or even human health, no? Understanding that our parents knew better than we did, no? But this dynamic changed dramatically in the last 10 years, right? The amount of information that we have from food is way more than we used to. So consumers are, have a more negotiation power. Kids are determining what their parents need to be buying. Like, it's a complete different scenario, right? And I think maybe we thought about that right in the right moment. Now it's being more expressed in reality, And we got COVID in the middle, so we needed to adapt to COVID situation as well, where you kind of like were challenged for a space in the fridge because people were stacking up on certain things and they were interacting with food in a way that they never did in the past. So how, if you look back to the founding, moment, what do you feel is the same, and what do you feel is different?
Yeah, I think the vision is still the same. I remember initially we always wanted this AI technology, Giuseppe, to be the one that is involved in every single stage when it comes to create novel products. Even at the beginning, I remember we always wanted that Giuseppe was the one telling us what to actually produce without having any idea of how to do that. And that's what we are doing today, right? With the Concept One, we are asking the technology what we should be creating. But we always were fascinated about that idea before, I remember. So initially, as outsiders, I had no idea what else to do besides creating a formula. Is that it? Like, okay, we know how to formulate, but as I was learning more and more from the food ecosystem, I understood that the complexity was infinite. Like, and that was a great thing for me because, okay, now I know that I will never run out of problems here. But at the beginning, I was afraid. Like, what else? I mean, we cannot have like a technology that formulates and that's it. I'm gonna be like out of or without a job in a year, right? Yeah. I need to find ways to contribute with technology. And when I started understanding the difference between having a product in the kitchen or in the lab versus having it on the shelves, it was a huge gap. And I said, like, we need to contribute here with the technology. And then we started helping, with scalability and then considering all the uncertainties coming from the suppliers, prices, variability on the ingredient quality, and so many things that we needed to solve. We say, okay, that's it. I mean, this is never going to end. When it comes to the things that have changed, I believe that the world, as you said, has changed, and that is, and since I feel like we are a very adaptive company. We are really fast at changing and pivoting whenever it's necessary, and I love that from our company. Like, I feel like our teams are able to understand that there's uncertainty in all what we are doing. Things are changing, now we change. And we see that in every team, we see that in our different units. In the foods units, we are creating products that were totally unforeseen before in the past, and now we're launching those products, functional products, and we're doing the same in B2B. So since the world changes so fast, the technology changes so fast, we're changing all the time. So that is something that I feel like was impossible to see from the early days of the company. But the core, this culture of being innovatives or being pioneers and bringing the AI technology that will really change the game when it comes to create the best products for people, that is still there, right?
How? No, it's very interesting. I think we learn a lot in the journey. I mean, both of us probably we weren't corporately employed. I think you did in LATAM Airlines before.
Very early days.
Yeah, and I think it's the outsider game. It was a very exciting game, but also a very challenging game. It wasn't, milk and honey every day. It came to realization that building a startup, from where we had the idea and when we met in, what was it, March 2015?
Yeah.
March 2015 until today, I don't know, it was an idea all the way to a $1.5 billion company, raising $420 million, employing more than 400 people in 7 different countries. I mean, it's a little bit surreal to look back and say, holy shit, look at where we are. And we stand in a point in which, it's super exciting to be part of NotCo, but also it's like, what comes next? No?
Yeah.
With everything now of AI, of technology, the things that we're doing internally, but not only in NotCo, but the rest of the world, and what do you expect? Not to play kind of like the crystal ball magician, no, but what comes next, and how that you envision transforming also the NotCo of today?
Yeah. Well, I believe that what is coming is fascinating. I think that not everyone is really understanding the transformations we're going to perceive now. For example, when you take an Uber here, and you speak with a guy and you realize that he doesn't challenge himself when he sees a car next to him driving without a driver, he doesn't realize that he's going to be without a job in a year. And I'm trying to tell them, what are you doing? How are you going to pivot yourself? Because we will not have drivers very soon. You already see them all the time. So that's the thing. I believe that it's impossible to predict what's going to happen in the future. with the AI, we were all even surprised. Even the best experts in the world were surprised with AI, because what came out of this OpenAI training system over a model that was created by Google in 2017, that, by the way, Google didn't create a product out of that. They just found a solution that they didn't realize, right? But it took another company to grab it and do more with it, training with more money, more power, more data, and see what happened. And then we saw that the technology that emerged was something totally unexpected. It's telling us that we, as humans, do not perceive the power of this and do not understand how far we can get with these technologies.
Yeah.
So it's hard as humans for us to know what it means a smarter system. Because if we could do that, then we would be in that position.
Yeah.
So we have no idea, right?
Okay.
So imagine a system like, do you think like a kid of 2 years old can understand that you are manipulating him when you are telling him, yes, you have this and that, and then he seems to be happy, he seems to have all what he wants, but you are controlling him and manipulating him at the end because you are smarter, right?
Yeah.
So imagine one machine doing that with us. So first of all, we need to be careful, but I think that today we cannot know what is coming. The only thing what we can do is to be prepared to change fast, to be super plastic and being able to say, well, this is not attractive anymore, or this should be fully automated, and we should reuse our resources in this other thing. Like, do not waste time or resources in things that are going to be quickly automated. Look at the trend of the technology and look at where things are going to change faster, so you don't spend time building things that later are going to be obsolete. Mm-hmm. And that's a mistake that many companies are doing. They don't realize they are building something that in 5 months another company is going to launch a solution for that. And all that was wasted, right? Mm-hmm. So we need to be very attentive to where are we putting our resources. And that should be the core, the things that are not going to be automated. Yeah. That I believe is the data generation, how we create the best data from our daily activities, such that in the future, when all the AI algorithms will be commoditized, we are going to have the core information that will allow those algorithms get the best out of it.
So AI in many ways is capped by the computing power that exists, no? And that would be another problem, no? The physical limitations that we have for innovation with a tool so powerful like AI, no? That for me is intriguing. It's understanding that the evolution of AI can only be developed at the pace that the physical world allows, no? Or am I missing something?
No, you are right. The thing is, like, the community is progressing very fast in making models cheaper, smaller. And you see that every day. Every single day, a different company is coming with an open source model, free, with a half or 1 order of magnitude less parameters of the previous one. Mm-hmm. So I believe that there is there are huge efforts coming from the community at making the models way lighter, so they don't spend the same amount of energy. And at the same time, you have the hardware industry, the energy industry, building more and more resources on that side. Mm-hmm. So if you put that together, you will end up having way smarter models, because they will be more powerful at the end, because with less parameters they can do more. So if you go back and add those parameters again, and then you run them in these more powerful infrastructures, then you're going to have much better systems, right? Yeah. So that's the current situation.
And if you have to envision NotCo in 10 years, like the craziest thing that you can imagine, what would it be?
I imagine that we are going to be the first company where you ask Giuseppe for something and you get that product like in real life in front of you in hours. Like, the AI initially started the capabilities of generating text, and you will see, this is very fascinating to see that this piece of text was created out of the blue from this technology. Yeah. And then they created images, and that was, way more surprising. Yeah. But then now video is coming. Yeah. But that's not real life. This is still in the digital world, because those are the things that we learned to digitalize first. Yeah. I feel like NotCo is the company responsible to digitalize food, meaning like in the future, when we connect our technology with the hardware that is able to print real things out of ingredients, then we're going to be the ones that you can prompt and to the AI, to Giuseppe, I would like to eat a product that is sustainable, that is nutritionally good for me, that gives me energy, and that I really would love the flavor of it. And or something that calms me down now because I'm with a lot of anxiety, for example. And the machine will be able to bring that product for you in hours.
Yeah.
So personalized nutrition and food and all that. And I feel like we are responsible for that because we are very close, actually.
Yeah.
Yesterday, you tried here the fragrances. Fragrances are a real thing.
Yeah.
Well, we prompt them. I mean, we prompt Giuseppe and ask him to create those fragrances. And now the machines that are actually compounding those fragrances can create hundreds of those in minutes. So it's just about connecting them.
Yeah. Well, I'll keep you accountable for that vision in probably not 10, but 5 years. Yeah. Being internally or being inside NotCo, you can foresee that. But I think for an external person, and that's, again, what we're trying to kind of like break with this podcast is people understanding what's happening inside NotCo that you cannot see behind these brick walls. You know, so super exciting. Thanks, Karim. We added way more stories to the I think the founding setup of NotCo, and yeah, it's been a joy riding with you 8 years, and looking forward for the next 10.
Likewise. Thanks, Matty.